Hi, everybody. My name is Aaron. I'm with IG Tech 365, and we are also here with Josh Holcomb from IG Tech 365. And today we're going to be talking about teams as it pertains to small and medium businesses. Really, the advantages are also applicable to large organizations, government agencies, things like that as well. But we want to focus in on SMBs specifically to help business owners understand the efficiencies and productivity gains that can be achieved through the Teams unified communications platform. So, Josh, tell us first of all, what is Teams overall, and why should somebody even be looking at and considering Teams?
So traditionally, we have had many different programs to accomplish what Teams has done by creating what they call a unified communications module. So like we used to use like Messenger or WhatsApp or something like that, program Skype, for instance, just to do messaging between each other in an organization, right? We'd have to have another service for a telephone, right? We would have to go to a shared drive on our server in order to access files. And then in order to send those files or share them with other people, we would have to give them access to a server. And then in addition to that, if you wanted to have a meeting, then you have to use other programs like a Zoom, for instance, that kind of thing. And in addition to that, what's the last thing? Now we're doing emails and scheduling different appointments and meetings through a separate program. So what Teams has actually done is it has combined all of that into one module, and it's really tied in the entire suite of Microsoft products. And what I mean by that is you can do instant messaging directly from there. You can drag and drop files right into a Teams chat. You can actually use it as a full-blown phone service like we do for our company and have been for a long while. You can access data that you would share throughout your entire organization via SharePoint directly through Teams. And it also integrates your Outlook calendar, so you have all those meetings right there. And instead of paying for Zoom in addition to or another program like that, what you would do is you would just set up a Teams meeting and it does the exact same features. And in my opinion, it's got a lot of powerful features that that really aren't compared to out there in a single platform these days.
And I see more and more large organizations, corporate customers, and government agencies adopting, Teams as part of the Microsoft 360 package. So we don't run into some of the same issues that we used to run into, where like we were using WebEx, and a corporate customer couldn't download and install the WebEx client because they didn't have access rights to their administration on their computer. So we would always have to try to use 2 or 3 different things until we found the one thing that would actually work. And starting off a sales call that way or a meeting was always kind of a negative, as we were trying to figure out what technology they could use, or they had to go to their IT department and get something worked out. So it was always a hassle. And we're just not seeing that now. And I think the other thing that I've really noticed about Teams is they've got a web version of Teams. So you don't have to do an install. You can use the Edge browser and actually join. Now, you may not get all the same functionality, but you can have your clients join through the Edge browser, which is included in Windows 10 now, and really is a great browser. I mean, it's the one I use every day. And you avoid all of those things if they're not on Teams. But we're just seeing more and more people on Teams. One of the points that I want to make sure that we circle back around to is cost, because we know people are paying for other services that are part of Teams. And, the question is why? And then the next part of that is, you mentioned a phone service, and upgrading your current license to include phone service really is a minor step. But, other people are paying for full-blown separate phone systems that aren't unified or combined, and essentially wasting a lot of money. So I want to talk about that towards the end. But let's talk about the integration with Outlook, because to me, when I'm operating day to day, that is one of the biggest things that I really enjoy. And being a Office or a Microsoft 365 customer, I've already got all that. Tell us a little bit about how Teams integrates with Outlook.
So Teams uses your Outlook calendar and it displays right in the Teams window, right? So you don't have to flip back and forth between Outlook and to your Teams calendar to create those meetings and then also to join those meetings. So you could be in a call right now and click on your calendar and it would actually help display what's going on for the rest of the day. So maybe you got a meeting that's running a little over. You could really quickly just take a look at that calendar without having to open a separate application. And while doing that, you're able to see what you have coming up next and whether or not you need to cut that short. But you can also schedule meetings right from there. And it also displays in your Outlook calendar. So if you're not on Teams later and you're on Outlook, you're seeing the same meetings back and forth between both devices, syncing simultaneously.
Yeah, and to join a meeting from Teams calendar or from the Outlook calendar, it's literally one click and everything else just opens up, right? So super easy to join. You don't have to go to a URL or click a URL, enter a meeting ID, enter a password, join, start the meeting. You don't have to do any of that. It's basically one click and you're operating straight from Teams because it's already doing the authentication from your Outlook.
One of the things that you mentioned just a minute ago, which is really powerful, is the fact that you're not downloading a whole separate app. I mean, I know that I've been late coming into meetings before, and you never want to be late, but when you are, you don't want the reason that you're late to be because you can't figure out the technology or you can't download it or you have to take the time and maybe you're in a bad coverage area and you can't get the Zoom client to download to your phone or whatever the case may be with Teams you have the option of having a desktop app, you have the option of using the web app, and then you also have the option of using the mobile app and using your phone, your actual cell phone, as the mechanism that you're using for unified communications. Because I do all of the same things, Aaron, on my phone that I can do on the actual desktop app. The only difference that I have seen in limited functionality from the phone to the desktop app is it doesn't give you all the extra pretty pictures for backgrounds. It only gives you the blurred version. But other than that, if you needed to take a call and say you're a salesperson running around out there because you're a small business and you're trying to get off the ground and you're trying to make some traction and your next appointment is a Teams meeting and you're just walking out of a client visit, right? Mm-hmm. You could sit in your car, blur the background, nobody knows it, and you're having a business meeting just like you would anywhere else in the world.
Yeah, and I have definitely done that as well. The seamless transition from your office to a mobile environment is really something that's become more apparent to me, this last 12 to 18 months as, we were coming out of COVID, that type of thing. And Microsoft has just done a fabulous job at putting it together. And I've always been a big critic of Microsoft because we got onto Office 365, God, it feels like 10 years ago. So we always had problems. Our phone system would go down. They were developing the technology and we were living through that. Today, completely different ballgame. I can sit here and recommend to anybody the Microsoft 365 platform without concern. It very rarely has a glitch or something that interrupts business to a point that you can't do business. Being Microsoft and as big as they are, they're going to get it fixed. They're constantly QAing, after every call and webinar, you fill out a survey and it sends them information on things. So they're looking for, potential issues with that. So, that's a pretty great thing that they're doing, and the quality of the product is just continuing to rise. It's going to be, if it's not already, the strongest overall unified communications platform in the industry. I mean, everybody else just really needs to watch out. It's definitely pretty great. When we're talking about Teams itself, we use it as a phone service, right? So we don't buy desktop phones, right? We buy headsets. In this case, you and I are both talking on a speakerphone. You might be using the microphone through your camera. I'm using a desktop speakerphone and a camera on my computer. So, what I think there's two things that I like. One is I don't like buying phones, the old school phones, because when you buy a phone, somebody has to set the phone up, has to be administered. People have to be trained just to use the phone, let alone the other technology that they have. And it takes up room on your desk. And desktop space is a premium. I like my space nice and clean. I got a few things here, but that's it. The rest of it's for focusing on the computer. With Teams, the way we use it, we use the application on our computer. So we basically just keep Teams up on our screen, and people can see our status, which is one of the things I wanted to make sure I mentioned about Outlook. When you go into a meeting, Teams automatically changes your status to busy or presenting or something like that. So everybody else in the organization that may want to communicate with you knows, hey, don't call, or knows that I can't call because the call won't go through. I'll go to voicemail because he's presenting, and we don't need things popping up all the time during presentation. So that live status or active real-time status is actually super beneficial. And it looks at your Outlook calendar and it just automatically updates your status in Teams, which is pretty great.